Hi, my name is Jenny. Welcome to the Slowness Knitting Podcast. I am a knitter based in Los Angeles, California, and this is my channel where I talk about my knitting. This video, I'm going to talk about everything I knit in 2024, or more like everything I finished in 2024. I know it's long overdue, and it has been a while since my last video. I do apologize for that. I was traveling for over a month. I was visiting my family back home, and then right after we came back from our trip, we moved. So that has been a whole process. We're still unpacking. And the other huge life update is this past week. We just adopted our first dog. It is my first pet ever. So I'm very excited. That's a huge change, obviously. Regardless, we are gonna get into all my finished objects from 2024. So this last year I finished 4 sweaters, 2 cardigans, 4 tops, and then 6 tank tops. And there are also 4 gift knits, which are all accessories. So let's get into them. I'm going to start with what I'm wearing right now. I have talked about this in multiple episodes, so if you've seen my past knitting podcasts, you have seen this. This is my favorite knit from 2024. There's definitely no doubt this is my favorite knit. I love everything about it, even though there are imperfections, but I love it so much. This is actually a free pattern by Drops from 1992, so it's a long time ago, and I guess at that time they don't even name their patterns. So on the website, this one is literally just called Sweater with Squares, and it the original pattern is main color is red and contrast color is black. I am super proud of my color choice. I think my color combination is really good. It looks great. This green against this light gray, almost whitish light gray. It just looked very classic, elegant, and it's also simple, not too complicated, not too overcrowded too much, even though it's not an all-over color work, because they still have a lot of plain main color at the bottom. The original pattern was knitted using Drops Alaska, which is a much thicker yarn. I actually used a sport weight, and I used 4.5 millimeter needle. I'm pretty sure. I've gone into a lot of details with this sweater, so I'm not gonna go into too much. It's a bottom up construction, and then the armholes are steeked. It's my first time steeking. I actually do not think it's a very nerve-wracking process. I think if you've done your securing the edges properly, I think it's fine. You should, if you've been hesitant, if you're scared of it, this is your sign to just try it. I think it's fine. This is my first time, and then I went for this whole complicated color work. It's totally fine. You can do it. The sleeves are also bottom up. As you can see, my sleeves are a little too long because I'm really worried about sleeves being too short, because that happens to me. I run out of patience a lot of the time, so my sleeves end up too short. So this time I overcompensated and the sleeves are too long. And also the cuff is pretty loose cuff, so if I only do this, it will not stay on. So how I've been wearing it is I actually fold up the hem or fold up the cuff a lot if I want to do stuff. And also if I roll it up this way, it will stay on put. That is a downside. So the original sweater is meant to be much more oversized than this. I do not swatch. A lot of times I don't swatch. So I just use the yarn and the needle size that works for me. And so I don't have a clear idea what the measurement of the final product is going to look like. So I actually did not anticipate for this to be not very oversized. I thought it would be much more drop shoulder oversized. So the downside is, because I didn't anticipate that, this ended up being a very awkward drop shoulder. the original pattern is probably supposed to be very oversized like this, but my shoulder ends like right here, which is very, very awkward. If I knew this was the fit I would end up with, I will probably do decreases around my armholes so that it is a set-in sleeve fit instead of a slightly drop sleeve right here. Yeah, as I said, this is steeked, and the sleeves are sewed up here. And I did not steek, well, I did not steek the neckline in terms of cut a whole neckline shape this way. I've mentioned this in my previous episode, so I'm not going to get too much into details. I've been wearing this so much ever since I finished it. I love my yarn choice. It is very comfortable and soft, not scratchy at all, and it's also really warm because it's double layer. I think this layer, this thickness, using sport weight, it's a perfect thickness for a sweater for me. So this got a lot of wear. So in terms of pilling, I think you can see a little bit of pills on the sleeves, but it's not too intense at all. It still looks very nice, and it's so comfortable. I would definitely say this is, out of all sweaters I've knitted, this is the absolute favorite. Next is, so this is my favorite sweater from last year, and next is my most worn sweater from last year, and it is my Guernsey Genser. This is a pattern by Sandnes Garn, and this really is my most worn sweater. There are a few things that are super special about this one. This is knitted using my own hand-dyed yarn, and it is my own naturally dyed yarn. I dyed this entire sweater quantity of yarn using avocado. Isn't that amazing? I am very proud of this. As you can see, there is a little bit of color variation because I dyed them in 2 batches. My first batch, I could only got to here on the sleeves, here on the body, and then without the neckline ribbings. So all the light color is from the second batch, and for some reason the second batch I just could not recreate the same color, even though I used more avocado and less yarn the second time, but the color was just not as dark or as constant. It's the doggy. This is not as dark. I love this pattern. This sweater, I use 2 strands of finger weight yarn. One is a typical like superwash merino, and the other one is a single ply, 100% wool. I think it's probably also merino. I think the single ply in there is causing a lot of the pilling. So this one does have a lot of pilling on the sleeves. The combination of these 2 yarn is super comfortable. They do not feel like wool. There's no scratchiness or the wooliness in it. It just feels very smooth. So this to me is a sweatshirt. I put this on in the morning all the time when it's not super cold. When it's super cold, I put on this one in the morning because it's so warm and soft. This one is not that warm, but it's very smooth and comfortable, just like a sweatshirt. So I get a lot of wear out of this as well. This one has the same problem. The sleeves are too wide. I need to fix it this year. It's too wide, so it does not stay on, so I have to roll it up. I really do not like my sleeves being too long and too loose. It really gets in the way when I'm doing stuff. So this is my most worn Guernsey Genser. I did make some modifications. I changed some of the textured sections. I love this so much. Even though this is a super oversized drop shoulder fit, but it just fits so well because the drop shoulder is very exaggerated. It dropped all the way down here. I think drop shoulder only looks good when they are very oversized. The downside is the body is a little too wide, and I didn't knit the body very long. I definitely want to knit this again. I want to knit another one for myself one for my husband. I just love this pattern. This pattern just works. It's an amazing pattern. I love it a lot. And this is definitely a super special one. Next, we have another Colorwork. This is actually a test knit. This is the, what's the name? This is the, I'm going to put all the names of the patterns and the designer down in the description box instead of putting them on the screen. So if you want to know any of the names, you can go down to the description section. This one, I'm blinking on the name. I cannot think of the name of this design, but the designer is Rebecca Clow, or the Korea Bea. I really cannot think of the name. I was a test knitter for this one. I believe I did not finish the test knit on time. I'm pretty sure. I cannot remember. I'm also, so this one, the main color is a superwash wool that I thrifted from a local thrift store. And then the contrasting color, I'm using this boucle, white boucle yarn. And the modification, I knitted the smallest size. I'm pretty sure it's the smallest size. And the modification I did is I took out one section of this Colorwork. It has another repeat down here. I took it out just because I think the original design, the Colorwork section is, the proportion of Colorwork versus plain main color is just a bit weird for me. I prefer this kind of proportion a little more, so I took out that section. Also, the other reason is this section does not show up that well with my boucle color, boucle yarn, as you can see. Especially from slightly far away, this section just does not really show up. So I skipped that. Also, to give you a little tip, if you're also considering knitting this pattern, and if you're considering using low contrast, that's what actually my first attempt was, using two other yarn. It was actually this main color. My first attempt was using this as the main color and use another one of my hand dye, which is a very, very light pastel-y pink variegated color. And if you're going for a low contrast, I need to warn you, the Colorwork will show up just fine here and just fine here in the bottom big section. But this section, low contrast just does not really work. It will not show up at all. So that's when I stopped with my first try. I knit it all the way to here. When it was this zigzag, I was like, oh, it's low contrast, but it's still working fine. But by the time I got here, I realized it would just not show up at all. So that's a little note for you. So this one, I actually do not wear that much at all. One is that I don't love this superwash yarn. It's actually fine. The biggest reason is this fit is just slightly too snug. And it's a superwash yarn, so the shoulder part is a little too snug, so I kind of want to pull my sleeves down to make the shoulders more relaxed. But it's a superwash yarn, it will just spring back. I just feel a little too uncomfortable wearing this, and this boucle with the tight fit just make me feel like very bulky. It make me look and it make me feel that I am very bulky. So I don't love this one. I don't know what I want to do with this one. I don't love this main color, even though every time I take it out, like I'm showing you right now, I think, oh, this looks beautiful. But whenever I put it on, after 10 minutes, I just don't like this color, and I don't love this Colorwork motif anymore. And it's a little too tight. So I don't know what I want to do with this one. If someone, if I know someone who I could give this to, I would totally do that. The last sweater I have is this Colorwork sweater I made for my husband. This is a circular yoke Colorwork sweater. It kind of matches the Colorwork Sweater I knit last year for myself. It's a similar circular yoke, and I even use a lot of the same contrast colors. I added more great ones this time because I have this orange that's left over from my Salty Days sweater. My version is similar contrast color but against a white main color. For my husband's, I wanted to make it a little more muted, a little softer, so I decided to use a gray color as the main color. The main color here is Lion brand Fisherman's Wool with another strand of like brushed wool, kind of like a mohair kind of yarn. It's because the Fisherman's Wool is slightly too scratchy for me and my husband, so I decided to add another yarn to soften it a little bit, and it did work, but it is just a little too thick. Overall, I had to use 5 millimeter or even 5.5 with this yarn combination because it's very thick. This one, even though I do love it and it looks so good on me, and I love the colors, I love the patterns I chose. So I started using a Sandnes Garn, a men's Colorwork Sweater, but I only use that pattern until maybe here. And then after here, it's just my own creation. My conclusion with this sweater is, even though I love it so much, my husband did wear it, but I still think this is one, way too thick, and the other thing is I think circular yoke sweater is just not a great fit for my husband because he's pretty muscular on his shoulders, his upper arms, and his chest. So he's quite thick. And I think for that kind of body type, circular yoke just does not fit well. It does not give the look that I like. It gives a very slouchy look, which is not my favorite. So that's why I don't think I'm gonna knit him another circular yoke design. I definitely want to make him a sweater that is lighter weight using thinner yarn, and then I want a set-in sleeve design. So that's this one, and then now we have the two cardigans. The first one is my Seasons cardigan by Ozetta, and mine is using one strand of Drops Air in the color 34. I'm pretty sure it's pink marble, but it could be pink sand. I get these two names mixed up, but I know the number is 34. And then I added one strand of a silk, basically mohair kind of, because I am very sensitive. I cannot really wear mohair. They're too scratchy for me. So all this kind of mohair-ish yarn that I use, they're mostly silk with cashmere or silk with alpaca. So that's my alternative. And all of these yarns that I mentioned, they're mostly cone yarns. I did that because one, I think this color, even though it looks great, looks very soft, but when you knit it up, this Drops Air, I think it's actually too dark. It really darkened the whole vibe, and it's not my favorite. I like more lighter color. That's why I added that one strand of white, because I want to lighten the color. And I also did that because I want to prevent or make the pilling a little better, because I've heard that Drops Air pills a lot. And that is true. It does pill a lot. It's not very obvious. It's not like right away you see a lot of pills and that you can pick off. It's more like you see this fabric, and overall you can just see that this is a very worn fabric. It just looks very worn. And I did swatch, but for some reason my swatch just never translate to my final product. I think my gauge ended up being way bigger than what the pattern calls for. but I still follow the pattern. Therefore, even though I made the smallest size, my cardigan is way too big for me. You can see the width, even holding it up like this. It's just way too wide for me. It's not my favorite fit. I don't love it. Plus the fabric it just looks very worn, but I do get a lot of wear out of this. I do put this on a lot. It is very, very soft. But I do have to warn you, if you like to use this kind of soft blown yarn, it does puff you up a lot. Especially this is a brioche pattern. It will create a lot of puff around your body and make you look puffy. But it is very soft. I do have to say, drops there. It is very comfortable. I think I'll still use this yarn. I will still use it. It's still great, and they have amazing colors. I think for this one, I'm just gonna wear it as much as possible until the fabric just becomes too unbearable for me, too like worn. And then I'll probably get rid of it. But I like the pattern. I do like knitting the neckband along with the whole cardigan because I don't have to go back and do the finishing touch. I hate doing that. When I finish knitting, I just want to finish. I'm looking at my doggy over there. She's so cute. Yeah, this is a not super satisfying knit, but it's a knit that I do wear a lot, and I like the pattern, and I would knit the pattern again. Last in the sweater slash cardigan category is my book club cardigan. It looks great. I've also talked about this in my episodes. It looks great. I love the cable motifs in this one. I like all of these basic cable motifs, and I use I use Cascade Eco Merino DK in the color doe skin, and I use exactly 4 hanks of that yarn to finish this. Mine is slightly short, and then I did not knit the pockets. If you've seen my last episode, I've mentioned it. Even though this looks great, I hated the knitting process. I hated this yarn. This yarn just feels like there has no give, no stretch, no elasticity. It feels so dense and rough. It feels like I'm knitting with a rope. I hated it, but it did soften up a lot after wash. So wearing it is fine for me. It does feel very warm. It feels like a very woolly cardigan. It's warm and woolly, but the knitting process was painful. I literally feel pain in my hands. And the other thing is I hate the fit of this cardigan. It is a drop shoulder. I knitted the smallest size, but just like all drop shoulder designs, when the shoulder drops here and then the rest of the body is knitted straight down, that means the body is this wide. And I just hate that kind of boxy fit. Yeah, plus, given how much I hate the fit, I'm actually surprised that I've been wearing this quite a lot. Not a lot like this or like my Guernsey Genser, but I still do wear it. It does look very good, and it is very warm. Somebody mentioned this in my video last time, and I did do some changes. You can actually see it here. I sewed up each side. You can see I created a seam here. Oh yeah, you can see that. I created a seam here because there's just too much fabric. So I sewed up this much excess fabric on each side. And that does help with the fit. I do think that that is way better than what it was like before. Maybe that's why I've been wearing it. And the other thing is, I do notice that it looks kind of good when you wear it open. I'll pop some photos here where I realized that it looks great over some shirts, like button-up shirts, and wear it open. Or so also drape over your shoulder like that. So I have been surprisingly wearing it quite a bit. So those are all the sweaters and cardigans category. Now we're gonna move on to tops. So how I define tops is it could be short sleeve, long sleeve, or sleeveless, which is I have all three right now. But mostly it's the type of design slash the weight. For example, this is a typical sweater design, but I use a super lightweight fabric. As you can see, this is pretty much the whole sweater is just like, I don't know if you can see, the whole weight of the sweater is just a super, super, super lightweight kind of fabric. It is almost just like holding one strand of knitting for all of merino, which is a light fingering weight, and one strand of silk mohair, because now I'm knitting on that combination and I think it feels just like this. This is knitted on 3 strands of a cone yarn. This is a design by Sari Nordlund, and it is called the Calliope Pullover. I believe this is a design from her book. It's a very intricate lace design yoke sweater. I wanted to try one, and now that I've tried one, I think my conclusion is I'm not super into it, because I think this kind of intricate lace design, it feels slightly mature for me. That's why I'm not super into it. But this yarn is a cashmere yarn. It's very lightweight, so it feels super, super soft. It really bloomed, and it works great as a layering piece, like a lightweight underlayer brown long sleeve, or on its own. It's also just really, really pretty, very wearable for me here in LA. So I end up wearing this a lot. This took me a while. This was my first finished object in 2024, because I started it in May 2023. It took me a long time. This was the first sweater that I knitted on such small needles, thin yarn kind of gauge. This whole sweater was knitted on 3.25 millimeter needle, so that was a challenge. But my conclusion is I do love that kind of lightweight tops a lot. And so that's going to be one of the big things this year, is I'm going to make more of that kind of lightweight tops. The next one I have for you is, you've seen this on my channel too, this is the Adelaide Robinson Blouse by Kate, or Kat. Again, everything will be written down in the description box. And this is using a yarn that I got in Portugal. It's from the Portuguese brand Rosaria's 4, and this line is Benjamin. It's a kid yarn, and it's 100% synthetic. It is quite thick, actually. So as a blouse, this is actually way too thick. It is quite warm. This is one of those very romantic knits with a shoulder, a little bit of puff sleeve, and with a cable cinched in look, and then a bit of a ruffle. You have seen this on my channel before, and in that video I knitted the cables. I knitted bottom cables much shorter than this, and then I have the ruffles at the bottom. But after that video that I filmed, I did not wear it again, because this yarn is quite warm, but it's too short. So I need to wear this on a bit chilly weather, but the length is just way too uncomfortable for me. It will basically stop right before the pants, so there's this little bit of gap, and I cannot deal with that. I need my thing to be longer so I can tuck it in, so I'm very warm and secure over here. So I actually recently, it was last month after I came back from my trip, I ripped out the ruffles, and I actually rip out the cables as well. and I re-knit the cables much longer, like this, you can see. So the original probably only have this much cabling, and I added way longer, and I love it. It's so worth it to make the change. Ever since I changed this, I've worn it so much. I actually wore this 3 times in the first week that I finished this, because it was like Chinese New Year, and there's also like Valentine's Day and stuff. We're just going out for celebrations, so I was wearing this a lot. I am so happy I made the change. I'm committed to improve my knits this year so that I'll wear them more. For example, one is this sleeve, although this one is knitted bottom up, so I think I will have to probably cut it here and cinched in a lot more and then knit the ribbing. And the other thing is my Guernsey Genser, same with the sleeves, although I have a different idea for how I want to fix the wide sleeves. So yeah, this is the second one of my top slash blouse. This year my biggest goal is to knit more of these types of blouses, romantic tops. I really wanted more of these types. I love them. I think I've had enough sweaters, and I think you can have too many sweaters for the sake of my closet space and all that. So I want more lightweight and more romantic knits, basically. So if you have a good recommendation of that, please share with me. It's hard to find. I know there are certain popular designers, so everybody is knitting those ones, but there are so many great ones out there. I just need to find them. So let's just share our knowledge. If you know or see any romantic, lightweight, breezy kind of tops, please share with me. Next, I have a short sleeve top, and this is a short sleeve sweater. This is a modified poppy tee by Petite Knit. I have the Maggie cardigan. Originally, I was going to use the Maggie cardigan pattern, because Maggie cardigan and poppy tee, they're essentially the same, except for one is connected in the round, one is a cardigan. The only difference is their sizing is actually different. So one of them, I believe, maybe it must be the later one. So it must be Maggie cardigan actually has a more extended size on the smaller end. So usually I just go for the smallest size, but poppy tee smallest size is extra small, but Maggie cardigan's smallest size is extra small. I'm pretty sure I didn't get it flipped, because I'm guessing the one that came out later has a bigger range. Anyway, they're essentially the same pattern, so this is technically a poppy tee pattern. I modified it by adding these kind of rib slash cable design in there. My stitch count is, I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I added 5 stitch of stockinette, 1 purl, and then 6 stitch cable. So it's a 5 stockinette 6 stitch cable, and the cable repeats every 12 rows. I believe that's what I end up doing. I love this because I love the construction. The main reason I want to knit this design is for the construction. It's for me to learn the construction, because my favorite fit is a set-in sleeve. And it is very easy to knit set-in sleeve bottom up, but it's very rare to see a good top-down set-in sleeve design. That's why I was so eager to knit this one, to learn how she did it. Now I just knit everything. Now I just want to knit everything, this construction. So basically, you start on the back. This is the starting point, and then you increase to have the slanted shoulder, line, and then you pick up for the front. And you pick up for the front, and then you knit the front until maybe like this point, and then you pick up the sleeves right here. And then from this point on, you're knitting front, sleeves, back, all the way in the round. I just love this design so much. I adjusted certain numbers to make my stitch count fit. So for example, this, I think her original line is a 3-stitch, but mine is a 2-stitch. But yeah, other than that, I didn't really make any modification. I really like this little detail she did for this neckline. It has a 1 row of purl bumps, and then you do the neckline. I really like that. So I actually added this little purl roll detail to my book club cardigan on the bottom hem. I did that because I really like that. I love this design. I'm definitely knitting more. I want to knit a real Maggie cardigan, a plain one. I want to knit a plain poppy tee. I want to knit a long sleeve, maybe with the cable design, maybe with some other design. I just want to knit everything, this construction and this fit. Oh, by the way, so if you know more designs that use this type of construction, please share that with me because I love them and I would love to try them. I know that there's cognac cardigan and sweater. There's also this construction, and I also know that there is a boucle jacket, something like that. It's also this construction. But if there's more that you know of, please share with me. Next, the last in the top category is my own design. It is this vintage lace vest. This is more in the top category versus tank top, because this is more like a spring top. You can wear under, you can wear it on its own, you can wear it as an underlayer vest, you can also wear it over like dresses and shirts. There's so many possibilities, and I have styled this so many different ways, and it's just beautiful. It can be romantic, it can be very everyday, it's very office friendly and appropriate. It could be soft feminine, but it could also be just very casual. I'm still writing this pattern. Grading is just the biggest challenge for me. And I also want to knit a real sample. This is more like a prototype. So how I knit this one in terms of construction is not really how I'm gonna write the pattern. So this is more like a prototype. And I couldn't get started on my second one, mostly because I couldn't decide on the yarn. I've considered so many possibilities. I've swatched a lot of options, but I just could not commit to any of them, mostly because I think I'm just not 100% sold on any of them. But the idea just came to me yesterday, maybe for the second version to give a completely different vibe, a different possibility. Maybe I'll use a summer yarn and knit a completely summer version to show you a different possibility. Maybe I'll do that, maybe not. If you have a good suggestions for what my second sample should look like, you can please share with me. I would love to know. Thank you for that. Also, if you have any name suggestion for this vest, I would also really appreciate that. So those are all my tops. Now we're gonna move on to my tank tops. I actually have a lot of tank tops. So this is also what I realized after I did my roundup, is that I actually knit summer tops a lot. The reason is last week, it's like late February, is already very hot here in LA. That is why I realized I have a lot of summer tops, because summer kind of starts for me in February. So I think my time of knitting heavy sweaters is, for now, for this winter, is already almost over. Now I'm moving into summer / lightweight blouse, like I mentioned, kind of mindset already. That's why I was thinking about using a summer yarn for this, because I feel like we're ready for summer here. So I'm going to show you how all the tank tops I have. First one, I've mentioned this, you've seen this a lot. This is my own design. This is a halter top, and I only use one ball of this Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the color Dusty Artichoke. I did a double folded neckline here, and I put my pearl necklace through it to use as my neckline to hold it up. And the bottom, not the bottom, the back right now is just one little button like this. Like this. Right now it just looked like this. So it's a very, very open back. Yeah, look like this. It's a very open back situation. So I have to say I do feel a slightly too exposed with this back design. My original idea is to have a row of buttons. I didn't do it just because I got lazy after the first one and I really want to wear it. And I thought it looked pretty cute. I think I'm still going to go back to not either. I think I'm still going to do a row of buttons just because this is too much skin. And the other thing I want to add is potentially I want to add a little ribbon there in the back. So that I can, one is to give it a little more decoration. The other thing is I could tighten it up because this is cotton merino. Even though this is cotton merino, but I think this feels a lot like just cotton yarn. It feels like a cotton yarn. It knits like a cotton yarn. But because I have very sensitive skin, I can feel up here on my chest area, I can feel that it does have wool in it. Especially when it's very hot, I can feel it here. But going back to the cotton yarn quality, it does stretch out. So I think having a ribbon on the back might help with stretch. As it stretch out throughout the day, I can tighten it up. So I think that's another thing I want to fix up this year with this knit. It's such a lightweight piece, and I love the cables on it. I would love to use these cable motifs on something else. Next is also my own design. I was knitting this vest. I was in Paris for a week last year, and the other week I was knitting on this vest. I think I might want to write up a pattern for this one. So this is just a very simple 2x2, yeah, it's a 2x2 ribbed little vest. It looks very vintagey 70s vibe. When I was wearing it the other day, I felt that. It is kind of short. It was knitted on, I'm pretty sure it was knitted on 3mm, so this also took me a long time. I used Focolana Arvetta. That is the biggest mistake with this one. But I learned it from this experience. Now I know using wool to knit a vest, or I learned that using wool to knit a top, or like a summer top, a sleeveless top, just does not work for me. It is way too hot to wear on a hot day. I got this Arvetta when I've visited Paris last year. So I got it from Little Weasel. I got 2 balls, I think, and it was not enough. So this time when I went back to Europe, I got another ball of this yarn. So you can see the button band color is actually slightly different from the rest of the body. I did a tiny bit of short rows here to create a little bit of triangle, but it's very, very subtle. Especially now you think you can see it, but when you wear it, it's stretched out like this, you can barely see it. It's a very subtle thing. Honestly, this one is slightly too small on me. So it's a very negative ease fit, let's put it that way. So when I wear it, this in between these buttons, there's just a bit of opening. I think some people like that look. That look is quite popular. This design could look really good if it's 3 little ties instead of 3 little buttons. I think it's a popular fit to have it pretty tight and have it pretty gappy, but it's just not my favorite design. So I'm actually considering for my vest, I'm considering actually just sew up here because it's a very tight negative ease vest, so I'm never gonna wear it open because it's just too small. It shrinks up too much. If I wear it open, it will just be too funny. So I think it will always be a button up look, so I might sew it up just to make it less gappy for me. But yeah, this is another one of my own design that I might consider writing up a pattern for. Next are also things I talked about quite a bit on my previous videos, especially the one I talk about my capsule summer wardrobe. I knitted a second Sailor Swift top this year. I love this version. I love the fabric. This is Bamboo Fair from Premier Yarn, I think. It's a 50% bamboo, 50% cotton yarn. I love, you can see the drape, the soft, the breeziness. It just feels so good. I made some modification with this version. Instead of a 5-stitch I-cord on both necklines and the armholes, I do not like the look. I change it to just stockinette, both here and for the necklines. It's also just stockinette but folded in, so it's a double stockinette. And on armholes, it's just a single layer of stockinette, and surprisingly, it did not roll up that much. Mostly because I think I use a pretty big needles for this yarn. That's why it didn't really roll in. And then I also don't love the original neckline of the Sailor Swift top. If you've seen my previous video, I've knitted a blue and brown stripe version. So the original neckline is more like this. It's more like a trapezoid kind of neckline, but I like this more smooth round. So I modified it to be this shape. I wear a lot. Oh, the other thing I modified is the bottom. This is my favorite way to finish all my tank tops, is to knit stockinette, finish all the yarn I have, and then I continue. If I run out of yarn, I just switch to a different color. I continue knitting stockinette, and then I sew it in like this. So it's a double folded stockinette. Is my favorite bottom hem for my tank tops. You can see it better in my next tank top because this is an example where I finish all the yarn I have. So I knit all the way, I finish every last drop, and then I just switch to a waste yarn to knit another inch and then sew it down. So this is how I learned the round scoop neckline I based on this design. This is the mini mock neck tank by Jessie Maed. I knitted this in a yarn I got from Germany. It's from, what is that brand that you see a lot? It's a discontinued yarn. This yarn is a almost half cotton, half silk. I was very intrigued by this fiber. That's why I got it. But it ended up feeling it's very soft. And based on the stitch, you can see it's not the smooth, shiny cotton or silk kind of. It's more like very soft kind of fabric. Therefore, it feels very, very warm, even though it's a pretty thin yarn and it was knitted on 3mm, but it still feels very warm. I also talked about this in my summer capsule wardrobe video. I talk about my opinions on the best summer fiber. I do like this design. Like I said, I learned the increase rate from this one to put on this top. I kind of, for the shoulder, this front piece coverage, I still like the Sailor Swift top more. As you can see, this front strap is much thinner on here versus on here. It's a much thicker front, and I like that kind of design more than this one, although this one is more like bra friendly. But a thinner design here it just looks a little more flattering on me, so I like that a little more. And the other thing I don't love about this one is, although you knit the finishing along with the rest of the body, this edge finishing, so you don't have to go back to work on it. But I've seen multiple people's finished objects, and I can see that the fit on this edge is just not the best. I've seen Knits talk about this, and you can see it in her videos. And then I've also seen Lily from Curatorial Knits. She also mentioned, I think, this edge. I just don't love it that much, but for me, I also feel like part of the reason is because I'm using a like cotton kind of yarn, so my yarn has no memory. It gets way too stretched out on this side. I'm curious to see if I knit it in a wool kind of yarn, if this edge will be a little better, because you're using the same needle size to knit a ribbing essentially on this side, so it's just not as tight. I also just said that I learned from a mistake. Knitting a tank top with wool is not the most wearable, but now I'm talking about, I kind of want to try this top using a wool. I'm not sure if I want to do it. I still do want to knit one of those like sleeveless black tank top, you know, the most classy working woman kind of top. I might use a cashmere or something to knit one of those tops. We'll see. The next tank top is kind of, it's cheating a bit. It's not something I knitted this year, but it's kind of something I finished in 2024. I meant 2024. I actually counted this in my 2023 finish objects as well. This is my Camisole number 5. I love this design. Want to knit another one. I use a 100% cotton yarn, but it feels more like a not linen. Is it linen? What's the most like dry and coursey summer yarn? I think it's linen. Yeah, it feels more like a linen yarn. I love it. Last year, I finished this one because I knit everything in it and I was wearing it all the time. But I actually did not knit the double knitted armhole band. I did not knit these 2 armhole bands. So if you want to look at my old video, it probably just looked like very comes in kind of line over here. It was still wearable. It was fine. It didn't stretch out too much or anything, even though it's a cotton yarn. It was still great. But this year, I finally mustered up the courage to do this double knitted armhole band. It was not bad at all. It was totally fine. I think it took me a weekend, so it did take 2 days to do it. But it's worth it. It makes the line, the silhouette, much better. And it's worth it. Definitely will reknit this pattern. I love this pattern. And my very last tank top is something you've never seen before because I've never talked about this. This is the Tuileries top by Knits pour moi. Sumi is her name. This is she has a Tuileries polo. It's a short sleeve, same stitch pattern, but it's a short sleeve polo, like an oversized drop shoulder short sleeve polo. That one looks really good too. And this one is a tank top design. It's this all over lace, and it's quite thin. I believe it was knitted on 3.25 millimeter. So it does take a long time. And I use this very, very smooth wool and cashmere blend yarn that I got from China. It's from the brand Lotus Yarn. I do like this yarn a lot, even though it's wool, but it feels different from the Ozetta by Folklana. It doesn't have the prickly woolness to it. It's a very smooth yarn, so it doesn't feel as hot when you're wearing it. I also kind of just technically finished this because I finished knitting this last year it's been sitting there for months because I just did not put on buttons. I hate putting on buttons for some reason. I hate doing that. I found these perfect little green buttons from my thrift store, the one in Pasadena, Creative Remainders. Yeah, Creative Reuse, something like that. So I finally put on buttons. So I finally officially finished this one. Although maybe this will be another one of this Camisole number 5 because I did not do the armhole ribbing. I just don't think it's necessary. I think it works fine. I'll have to wear it to see if this will stretch out too much, or if I think this line is like too much. Right now it is not bra friendly, but I think this design is bra friendly if you have a ribbing on the edge. I love this overall lace design, but it does take a lot of time, and it is not see-through, but you know how it goes. It is kind of see-through. I guess if somebody wants to go very close and look at you, you can see through whatever you have underneath, whether it's something or nothing. I like the construction. I like the design. You started from the back. You have a little tiny bit of slanted shoulder, and then you pick up for the front. You knit the whole thing. The bottom is ribbing. It's very repetitive, and then for the neckline is actually, did I change the neckline? Maybe, oh yeah, maybe the neckline is originally 1x1 ribbing, but I did a stockinette and folded in. This is a negative ease vest or tank top. So first of all, I love the fit already. I love that negative ease. And the other thing is, I love this neckline. It's a very, very cute neckline. I just love this increased ratio she does here. I've seen her sample, I've seen other test knitters, everybody's looks great. I just love this neckline so much. It is quite short, it's pretty cropped, and it's a bit see-through, so it'll be very breezy when you wear it. So it is definitely a hot summer top. I have not worn this out yet. I don't think so. But yeah, this is my last finished object from 2024. And that, my friend, concluded everything I knit in 2024. I hope you enjoyed that. Please let me know what was your favorite knit from last year. And also please let me know what you're most excited to knit in 2025. And if you like my content, you like what my knits are like, please follow my journey. I'll see you next time. Bye!